This is Angela Huffmon, Straight Talk About Management. Today I'm going to talk to you about effective listening. Your employees need you to be fully present when they're talking to you, and so you need to use effective listening skills in order to engage your employees. There are 5 types of listeners, and I'm going to demonstrate those 5 types, and you can determine which one you exhibit most of the time. The pretend listener is doing just that. They're pretending to listen. If you were having a conversation with your employees, they may be explaining to you a situation that they're having. But the whole time, you're thinking about other things. You're thinking about what you have to do at your next meeting. You're thinking about a phone call that you need to make. You're looking away. You're not giving them eye contact. That's pretend listening. Your employees will know when you're pretend listening. They might respond to you and say something like, "Did you hear me?" or "What do you think about that?" They're trying to engage you in the conversation. That is pretend listening. The selective listener is selectively listening to portions of the conversation that they want to hear. For example, you're having that same conversation I discussed earlier with your employees. They're explaining a situation. Throughout the conversation, you're looking away, you're thinking about other things. But the second they say something that you actually want to hear, like for example, their project is going to be late, all of a sudden they've got your full attention. You're paying attention, you're listening. But then when they say something like the project's going to be okay, turns out everything's all right, you go back to pretend listening. You're looking away, you're looking around. You're selectively listening to the portions of the conversation that you want to hear. The attentive listener. The attentive listener is all the time trying to actually listen to the speaker. If you are attentively listening to your employees, you are actually engaged in portions of the conversation. But maybe something that the employee says to you will cause your brain to drift off into other directions and go off onto these rabbit trails. For example, let's say your employee says something like, the reason why they were late today is because their car was broken down. They tried to explain the situation, why they were late. They really didn't mean to be late. But you start to think to yourself, well, I don't understand why their car broke down. Don't they have a new car? I thought I saw them driving in a new car last week. I'm pretty sure that was their car. Maybe it wasn't them. And you're going off on some rabbit trail, totally missing the whole rest of the explanation the employee is trying to give to you. You are attentively listening, but that means your brain is going off on all of these rabbit trails. We have to make sure we maintain our focus on the conversation when we're speaking to our employees. Stay focused. When you see and realize your brain is going off, bring yourself back, pull yourself back into the conversation so that you can give your employee your full attention. The interactive listener is somebody who is also actively trying to listen to the speaker. If you are interactively listening to your employees, maybe they're explaining a situation with a vendor that vendor is actually late with a product. You're thinking about, well, you also had a similar situation with that same vendor. And so you are anxious to tell your employee the experience that you had with that same vendor. The whole time they're talking, you're not even listening because you want to tell them your situation and the problem that you had. So actually, an interactive listener is really waiting for their opportunity to speak. They prefer being on the speaking end of a conversation more so than on the listening side. Communicating means there are 2 sides of a conversation. There's the listener side and there's the speaking side. We have to be able to do both in order to effectively have a conversation. The empathetic listener is doing just that. They are fully listening with empathy so that they can give advice when the conversation on that side is over. They're not doing any of those other things. They're not pretend listening or selectively listening or attentively listening or interactively listening. They're just listening and focused on whatever the employee has to say. That is empathetically listening, because when that person says, "What do you think?" or "Can you give me some advice?" you can fully advise them because you heard everything they had to say. That is what we all need to do. It's something that we all have to practice, and it's something that you never really learn. You're continually practicing this experience, and that is empathetically listening. You need to be able to be completely focused all the time, not allowing our brains to go off on all these different tangents or thinking about our own experience so that we can talk. Just focus on them and give them the respect that they require so that you can be the best boss that you can be. And by the way, These tips on listening don't just apply to the workplace. They can also apply at home with your children or your spouse or anybody that you're having a conversation with. So practice this all the time and you will be a very effective listener.